Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Hey family, I want to talk to you about several topics, obviously, but I'm not going to obviously get to them today. However, I'm going to give you my schedule and I'm going to give you some idea what I'm going to be dealing with in the future. We're going to be talking about 3 subjects. It's going to go into some detail, not a lot, but 3 subjects. Okay. Today I'm going to be talking to you about not getting married. I know you guys go, wow, wait a minute. I thought this was How Love Works guy. Don't worry. Wait. I'm going to get back to you on that one. The next topic I'm going to be talking about is how women are being set up to die single and alone. That's the next one. How women are being set up to be single and alone. Okay. I'll probably do something with that tomorrow, Saturday. And in the next subject, I want to talk about why black men get no respect. Why black men get no respect. And all 3 of those subjects are pretty comprehensive, to say the least. But they all dovetail, they all are connected. And so what I want to do today is I want to share with you some information about don't get married if you don't understand at least these 5 key areas. Please don't get married if you don't understand these 5 key areas. Before I give you those 5 key areas and then we go through them, let me just say this one thing about marriage in general. Okay, I recognize that many people listen to me because I'm one of the few voices on, I guess you say the network, YouTube sphere. I'm one of the few voices that advocate marriage. I mean, obviously there are others, but I'm talking about black voices that advocate marriage very strongly, in spite of many other conflicting views on the subject of marriage. Now, true enough, others have had some pretty tragic issues when it comes to marriage, and I'm sorry about their experience. That has not been my experience, but that doesn't make their experience even less than mine just because I hadn't experienced their issue. But I can say the same thing. They haven't experienced my situation as well. But I will say this about marriage before we get started. It's ironic to me how there are so many very adversarial voices in YouTube or on the channels that are really advocating that people not even consider it because of all of the negative issues that arise with marriage. Okay, you can buy it if you want to. I'm not going to argue it one way or the other. But one thing I do notice is when I see what's going on in our society, and I notice that everyone's always railing about equality and rights and all that nonsense. And I see that, the big one right now is, there's a pay gap between males and females. And there's a big difference between the rich and the poor and the black and the white and the women and the men. It's just a big war. It's always a big war. But one thing I don't hear much about is that there is a marriage gap. And I noticed that 85 to 90% of all wealthy people are married. Now, I'm not talking about those psychos in Hollywood. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about normal people who don't make their living in front of a camera. Most wealthy people, even, I will go so far as even saying the psychos in Hollywood, because they like to marry 4, 5, 6, 7 times, right? Why is it that the rich seem to be getting married and the poor and the middle class are not? And the poor and the middle class are being influenced not to marry, but the rich are getting married. It's like only the rich marry and everyone else doesn't. Makes you go, something to think about. Okay. Anyway, don't get married if you don't understand how relationships work. That's number one. Number two, don't get married if you don't understand what marriage is and is not. Number two. Number three, don't get married if you don't understand the number one cause for divorce. Makes sense. You need to know that, because if you know the number one cause, you might avoid it. If you don't know, then, I guess you don't care. Number four, don't get married if you cannot accept gender roles. Don't get married. Okay, if you can't accept gender roles, you can't accept hierarchy, roles, rules, responsibility, agenda, don't get married. And last but not least, number five, don't get married. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't get married. And especially ladies, don't get married if you cannot or will not understand the real fears men have of marriage. You need to understand these fears, because you can allay some of these fears during the courting process. But if you don't understand these fears, they will come back and bite you later. I'm just saying. All right, number one. Don't get married if you don't understand how relationships work. That's common sense, right? All right, ladies, this is how it works. Gentlemen, this is how it works. There's only 3 ways relationships kind of move. I've mentioned this many times. Either your relationship is devolving, right? Or your relationship is revolving, which is most of you. Most of you just going in circles like a dog chasing its tail. That's most of you listening to me, right? Or it's evolving. It's going up, right? Many of you never get there, all right? You can't get to 34, 35, 36 years of marriage if your relationship isn't evolving most of the time, okay? So the second thing is, ladies and gentlemen, there's only 2 ways you're going to relate in your relationships. Only 2, right? Either you're going to have an adversarial relationship or you're going to have a partnership style relationship. That's how you're going to relate, right? So if you have an adversarial type of relationship with men in general, if you're a lady, then the chances are real good what's going to happen is that you're going to be operating out of instinct, ladies. Not from your spirit, but out of instinct. And you're going to be operating out of instinct because that's also part of your design. Think about it this way. I'm trying not to go into too much detail here, but this is where everyone screws it up here. This is why it's number 1. For those of you who are not biblically literate or could care less about the Bible, and I get it, but just so you know, there was a curse when Adam and Eve decided they were not going to follow God, okay? And one of the curses was that a woman would desire her husband, but he would rule over her. That was one of the curses. Now, don't get it twisted. What that means is that the woman would desire to usurp the authority of the man. And as a result, cause conflict. There will always be consternation. There will always be contention within that relationship because the woman instinctually has inside of her, there is a battle for, I want dominion. But at the same time, she seeks some sense of security, so she's willing to submit. So there's this ongoing battle. And that's a biblical situation. That comes from the beginning. So when a woman is in a relationship with a man and it's an adversarial relationship from the beginning, part of it is from the design. But if you think about it, when we were created, we were designed in partnership. Everything was good. But because we decided to be disobedient, this is when the confusion came in. And so this is what happens when men and women get together. They have this situation where men come into the relationship, women, they relate from an adversarial perspective. Then once they relate from an adversarial perspective, then what happens is that's fear-based. Then it's based upon the fact that women instinctively believe that men are either going to be dominant attackers or potential providers or protectors, right? So what women typically do is they get into these relationships, and out of fear, what they will do is they will manipulate. If they can't get what they need from manipulation, then they will emasculate. If they can't get what they need from emasculation, then they will abandon. That's what happens. That's the circle. That's the process. The problem with that is there's always a win-lose. There's always a winner. There's always a loser. It doesn't work. The motive is power, okay? And the means is social justice. So a lot of the things I've just said, a lot of what women are getting comes from this, through the means of social justice and the meddling of the federal government and the city and the local governments. So the relationship is primarily focused upon rights, and it's focused primarily on who has more or who does more. So there has to be a constant validating constantly, because that's how we measure the relationship. It doesn't make sense, I know. But that's what we have. So with that situation, if you get into a relationship like that, you're not going to have the benefit of even a halfway decent relationship. It's going to be bad, to be honest, right? Partnership is totally different. Partnership is not motivated by instinct. Partnership is motivated by spirit, right? It's about the true value of a partnership. It is based upon not equality of outcome. It's based upon equity, value. Each partner is valued. What they bring, everything they bring is value. So it's a win-win. So don't get married if you don't understand how relationships work. So you need to value your relationships, and you need to have a standard of equity. Number two, if you don't understand what marriage is and is not, quick and easy. Marriage is a catalyst. Simple, right? It's a change agent. That's what marriage is. Marriage takes two people, changes them, make them different individuals. Marriage is a concealment remover. What does that mean? That means if you got secrets, marriage over time is going to open you up to all of the little secrets that you have. Marriage is going to reveal these things. That's what I mean. So if you've been married or you're about to get married, what you need to do, if there's anything that's going to cause harm to the relationship, you don't need to get married. Or you need to at least be totally transparent and put that out on the table and let your potential partner make his or her decision on whether or not they still want to jump the broom with you. Make sense? All right. So marriage, that's what it is. That's what it does. And if you have a problem with gratifying yourself and you can't delay it, you don't need to get married. If you got a problem with not being the center of attention and you can't leave center stage, you don't need to get married. If you have a problem thinking that the person you're about to marry is going to be your everything and can do everything and can provide everything, you don't need to get married because you're a child. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're thinking. That's not reality. Don't get married. Number three, if you don't understand the number one cause of divorce, you need to know that, ladies. You need to know that, men. The number one cause for divorce, I hate to say it. It ain't going to make sense, I know. Number one cause for divorce is most women leave the marriage because they're not happy. They feel like they're not supported. They feel like they're not loved. Okay, I'm not going to throw cold water on that. I get that. I understand that. Women get bored a lot easier than men in relationships. I understand that there's a lot of dynamics going on here, and I really don't have a lot of time to go into it because I don't want to make this a 30-minute video. All right, especially when they're probably only going to get 2 views. Anyway, let me continue. Now, if you don't believe me, let me give you the top 3 reasons people divorce. Number 1. Number 3 is people get divorced because of the triple A's. Okay, either it's going to be adultery, abandonment, or abuse. Those are number 3. That's number 3. Number 2 is because of financial reasons. Number 1 is the one I just gave you, because a lack of love or a lack of support. I'm not happy. Okay, you don't believe me? All you got to do is Google. I think the reality show is Married to Medicine. Dr. Simone was divorcing her husband Cecil after 20 years of marriage, not because of number 3. He wasn't abusive. He wasn't abandoning her, and he certainly wasn't committing adultery. That wasn't the reason. He wasn't messing up the money. She's a doctor. He's I think some tech guy. They make good money, right? It's not that. She's divorcing a man of 20 years because she doesn't feel loved. And he doesn't say he loves her enough. So she's going to put a good man who has proven himself. He's showed his love, as Steve Harvey likes to say so frequently. Put this man on a platinum plate and serve him up to the next woman. Just give a perfectly good man away. Just gonna give him away, right? That's why a lot of women are going out there getting divorces because of that reason. So, number 4. Now, if you know this, men going in, and women, if you know this going in, you can change some things about your true perspective on how men love. And so you can appreciate the way they do love you, rather than impose what you think how they should love. Because of course, this is about rights, of course. I have a right. Well, you do or you don't. Love doesn't impose itself. Love doesn't require reciprocity. But you don't know that. I know. You don't know that. You were raised social justice, so you don't know that. It's all about you. Okay, number 4. If you don't understand and accept your role as a wife, roles in general, I'm going to go ahead and end this pretty quick. Pretty much, there are things that when men get ready to get married, I'm hearing women saying they don't want to take a man's last name. I have a strict policy. If you don't want to take my last name, that's fine. You don't have to. You're not going to take me then. You're not getting me. You do what you want to do. If you want to be social justice and you want to politicize my marriage, if you don't have enough confidence in you and what we are building together, we're forming a corporation here. This ain't the corporation of me or you. This is the way it is. If you don't like it, that's fine. We're not going to get mad. We're not going to have no marches, and we're not going to sit there and claim that I'm a little insensitive and I can't handle all, No, we're not doing none of that. Go do you, boo. That's all you got to do. Go do you. All right? So you need to ask these questions. You need to find out, does the man expect you to have his children? Does he expect you to be home with the children? Does he expect you to work while you have, all these things need to be asked. And then does he expect you to wash and cook and clean and make sure that the house is a home and make sure that you take care of him and is there going to be, you sit down and discuss these things and negotiate these things. That's the problem. Most people don't do that. They don't do that. Even when they get into their little shacking thing, they don't do it. So that's one of the things I'm saying. If I'm saying don't get married if you can't accept that you are going to have roles and responsibilities in your relationship. If you can't accept it, then, stay free, keep your freedom, because, freedom without responsibility, in my view, is anarchy anyway. So keep living the life of an anarchist as far as I'm concerned. Last but not least, if you don't understand your man's fears, please don't get married, because you're not going to be able to allay them. You're not going to be able to understand why he's reacting to you the way he's reacting if you don't understand what's motivating the fear. That's even if you get that far. Okay, here's some of the fears that men have about marriage in general. See, men are paranoid right now. Not only just marriage, but just women in general. Men are, I hate to say it, men are not afraid of women physically. That's not an issue. Trust and believe. Men are not afraid of women physically. They're afraid of their meddling friend, the government, and how he likes to get into everyone's personal lives and get into everyone's opinions and get into everyone's hair, and it just cause life to be a problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right. And so here are some of the fears that men have. And I'm sorry, there's some major fears. And men, to their credit, I understand it. Number one, they think they're going to lose their identity if they get married. Number two, they think they're going to lose their peace of mind. Number three, they think they're going to lose their own personal time. And the time that they do have will be usurped. It won't be his time, it'll be her time. Number three, they think they're going to be passed over when the kids come. All of a sudden, you're just a resource, you're a prop, and the kids are everything. They get all the love, attention, and affection. Right? Number five, they believe they'll never be able to satisfy the ever-changing agenda, ever-changing expectations of his wife. Here's a big one men are really paranoid of. As soon as they marry the woman, then all of a sudden that sweet nature is going to change. She's going to become some psycho host beast, fat, nasty female. That's what they said, not me. So don't take it out on me. I didn't say it. That's what the boys are telling me. They think they're going to become some psycho host beast, fat, nasty female. That's what they think. All right? Now, they might have some help on that. The last one is that they just know they won't ever be appreciated for what they do. For what they do. They won't be appreciated. So it's sad. I know. So these unresolved issues. Oh, wait a minute. I better say this last one. This is a big one here. This is a real big one. I'll end it on this one. A lot of brothers say one of the biggest beefs they have with marriage is that they think that what will actually happen is that they will become the scapegoat once they get married. They will be the turd wall. Everything will be thrown at him, and no matter what she does, no matter what she says, she won't be accountable, but he will. He will accept and he will be the scapegoat for everything. And brothers say, some of these women have I guess you can say unresolved issues and desires, and so the man becomes the fall guy for it all. And so that's what some of the guys are dealing with. Now, some of the ways guys want to try to deal with that issue, they want to go their own way and all that. I don't think that's smart, to be honest, because it's obviously not realistic, and I don't really think that's the way a man would handle things like that. I don't think that's the way a man would handle it. I'm a classic male, so I think I have some understanding of the female mind. I certainly have a better understanding of how the world works and how crazy and upside down the world is, and how people's hearts are pretty much bent towards self-centeredness. I know that going in. I know when I talk to a female, she's bent. I know when I talk to a man, he's bent. Everybody's into with him. Everybody's into what's in it for me. So when I deal with them, I'm only focusing on certain aspects, characteristics that I need to explore if I'm going to try to establish a relationship with that individual. But if you don't know how to do that, and you don't go in to a conversation with an individual, female in this case, as a man, and try to explore what type of person you're dealing with to see if they meet just the basics. You are not going to get everything when you get married. And as a man, don't think like a woman. You're not going to get everything. As a man, you're the cultivator, not her. You take the woman, the raw material, and you make her out. You create her to be what you need her to be. But she needs certain basic raw material that'll make it possible for you to do it. And if you don't know that, then you'll keep messing with these ratchet females and these raggedy, social justice, overeducated alpha females, and you'll have problems. And so you're going to run away like a little girl. You just don't know how to handle business like a man. That's all. You just don't know how to handle business. You're scared of everything, worried about, oh, this going to happen to me if I do this with this. Blah, 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 blah. You just don't know how to handle business. The pickup artist still getting women. And some of these other guys, some of these weird old sexo guys out here, these BDW guys or whatever, they got women bent over, tied up. These guys is having whole harems. But you guys can't do it? Come on. Something ain't right. All right, bro. My phone's ringing, so obviously I got a lot going on, okay? So don't get married if you don't understand how relationships work, what marriage is and is not, the number one cause of divorce, how to accept your roles as a wife and a husband, and if you don't understand a man's real fears. That's my time. I thank you for yours. Catch you on the side. God bless you.